Debra L Morrison is a TEDx speaker, best-selling author, and international motivational speaker. She's a recipient of the Marquis's Who's Who Women of Influence Award, a seasoned life-centered certified financial planner and empowered retirement coach. She partners with women to maximize their return on life, not just their investments. Debra has been featured on CNN, ABC, and MSG's Metro Money Television. She's also been quoted in the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, the New York Times, Business Week, Money Magazine, Ladies' Home Journal, Nation's Business, CNN Money, Reader's Digest, Kiplinger's, and more. Debra coaches women to build their confidence, inspire a fulfilled life, and create an empowered relationship with their money. She teaches women that it's possible to both live in the moment while saving for the future. Known for her easy-to-understand speaking style, Debra combines sage wisdom with refreshing humor. Now you're in for a treat. Please welcome Debra L Morrison.
Want to get to our third and final guest for today, and I am introducing to you, and hopefully we welcome to the stage right now, Linda Fisk.
With you. Thank you so much, Debra, for allowing me to be a part of this phenomenal summit as sort of your, I think, the last speaker of the summit. And what a pleasure, and what an incredible lineup. Amazing.
Yeah, it's been rich beyond words. And you are bringing it home, sweetheart. Now, if you haven't met Linda Fisk, gosh, this is your lucky day. This woman is amazing. And I am in great professional relationship with her, and I'm looking forward to even deepening that relationship at the end of September. She is the current the owner of LeadHERship, a little bit of shifting of some of that ownership, but she is an accomplished university professor. She's taught everything from sociology and psychology and so forth, and women's studies, and throughout marketing. She really had a penchant for marketing. She doesn't talk about it too much, but she has a gift in art and writing, and has won national competitions in those things. That kind of falls by the wayside. I had to dig real deep for that, but she is absolutely dedicated to amplifying and expanding the success of other high caliber business leaders. Former CEO of Collective 54, CMO of Susan G. Komen, CMO of Young Presidents Organizations. This woman is a phenomenal networker and a woman who is passionate about getting women and disseminating, if you will, pulling apart the gender biases that trap and have held so many women back. But let me ask you, Linda, you were raised a white woman in a mixed race family. Talk to us a little bit about some of the barriers that you had to bust through even at a young age.
Yeah, let me go back to something that you mentioned and then tie it to my upbringing. I will say, Debra, that as the chairman of LeadHERship Global, I really believe my purpose is to accelerate the success of women in leadership all around the world by connecting them to the kind of resources, networks, tools, experiences, diagnostics, and relationships that will really advance their unique purpose. And what I learned growing up in a very multicultural environment with a family that adopted me as the only white person within the family unit is that everyone has a unique purpose. And you have to find your tribe. You have to find your group of people that will surround you, lift you up, cheer you on, support you, and finding that kind of confidential, supportive community that's really designed to further and advance your purpose on planet Earth is really the key. And so early in my upbringing, I was taught not to try to look like other people in our family. I wasn't supposed to emulate their culture or their look or their hairstyle or their skin color. My focus and my biggest opportunity in my life is to discover who I was, to learn through a series of ups and downs, successes and failures, what my unique purpose on earth was. And so now, as the chairman of LeadHERship Global, I believe that is my purpose to help accelerate the success of every single woman around the world by integrating self-directed learning, impactful small group experiences, peer advisory services, much like you provide, Debra, and expert-led coaching and mentoring. And Debra provides all of those expert-led coaching and mentoring, peer advisory services, coaching to the other members of LeadHERship Global, because she is as invested as I am in watching women accelerate their success, which is why we became fast friends. And I am just so excited to be able to be here with everyone to help them really understand how they can be intentional about seeking out and investing in the right kind of genuine but strategic relationships that we all need. And especially as women in leadership, I think we need a close circle of intimate relationships as well as a wide breadth of other strategic networks so we can thrive both personally and professionally.
Exactly. Absolutely. This is amazing. And you speak so eloquently. And of course, you have a TEDx talk that is called Secrets to Creating a Safe, Secure, Smart Tomorrow with Ladder Economics. I recommend it to everyone. And yet, take us back to a time when speaking wasn't your best talent, if you will.
Yes. Not only did I experience the barriers, the stigmas, the discrimination and racism of growing up as the only white person within a multicultural family. And, you know, all the whispers and all of the barbs and all of the jokes and all the humiliations. But I also, when I was adopted, had a stuttering problem. So I had a very pronounced stutter, which further alienated me, which further distanced me from other people. And of course, that was a significant barrier to being able to feel valued and cared for, and to feel appreciated and to feel connected with others. And through that experience of having a very pronounced, incredibly debilitating kind of stutter, I realized that really any leader that I meet now who has overcome a particular barrier or a block or a roadblock or an obstacle or a failure, they have one thing in common, and that is mental toughness. In every area of growth, from your education to your career to athletic training, it's your level of mental toughness and determination that actually predicts your level of achievement. It's not your competence. It's not your IQ. It's not even your EQ. It's actually your level of grit. It's your level of mental toughness. That is a more reliable and a more tenacious predictor of your ultimate success than anything else in your life. And so in my mind, I think that mental toughness was absolutely so resolute with me, this sense of perseverance, this incredible sense of tenacity to ensure that the future that I had dreamed up, this vision that I wanted for my life, that I was able to overcome any obstacles or roadblocks like a significant debilitating stutter in order to achieve that. So having grit is so important because it becomes a driver of achievement and success well beyond what skill and knowledge will provide. If you're dedicated to achieving a clear long-term goal, as I was, and you are steadfast in your pursuit, you're undeterred by the sacrifices required, then I will tell you that level of mental toughness and grit will allow you to achieve anything that you've envisioned for your life.
Amazing. Now, just in the case anybody's thinking, oh, well, then she took a 6-week course and boom, 4 years, right, Lynn? 4
yes,
years.
absolutely.
But dozens of public speaking classes, speech therapy, counseling. And she was even in college. And instead of giving her speech, she just fainted. Right?
Absolutely.
Fainted on the classroom floor.
Yes. You're absolutely right. So as Debra alluded to, I knew from the time that I was adopted at a very young age, all the way through high school, that I didn't want my speech impediment, my very pronounced stuttering, to be the reason why I couldn't achieve my long-term goals. So in college, I embarked on a 4-year process of overcoming that speech impediment, which included speech classes, public speaking, speech therapy, counseling, all kinds of things. Now, there are two different kinds of stuttering. One is psychological and one is neurological. Mine was psychological. And so because it was psychological and not neurological, I had the capability of changing the way that I reacted in public speaking events. But I will tell you that road was a very rocky road and filled with all kinds of setbacks and failures. And in fact, I would say indeed failure is often why successful people achieve such remarkable heights of greatness. They learn from their setbacks. They learn from their failures and mistakes. They get back up and apply those learnings to their next attempt. And as you and I have talked about, Debra, for me, fail stands for your first attempt in learning. So it is the first attempt in learning along the way. And will you hit setbacks, failures, mistakes? Absolutely. But if you see that as just an opportunity to apply these learnings to your next attempt, then you don't see failure as being indicative of your level of competency, your level of achievement. It's simply your next step on the path of mastery. So some of the most successful people have encountered incredibly disappointing setbacks. Everyone knows that Walt Disney was actually fired from a newspaper and he was told that he lacked imagination and he had absolutely no good ideas. Oprah Winfrey was fired early in her career as a TV reporter because she was told she was unfit for TV. Can you imagine saying that to Oprah? And Dr. Seuss, one of my all-time favorite book authors, had his first book rejected by 27 different publishers. So I really believe that it's that level of mental toughness, that level of tenacity that you've got to hold on to and really see this path of mastery as one of learning and growth, because no one becomes an ace tennis player overnight. No one becomes a profound artist overnight. There are going to be missteps. There is going to be failure. There are going to be mistakes. And that's part of the learning.
It is. That is. Well, I gleaned from the interview you did with Voyage Dallas, and your quote is, and I quote you, "Like most women in leadership, I have experienced unofficial barriers, formal and informal, comments or behaviors that indicate some bias. These implicit or explicit biases and microaggressions, along with overt discrimination, have certainly helped me become more resilient, more tenacious, and more dedicated to pursuing my passion," unquote. Which of these were the hardest to overcome, those overt or some of the coverts?
I tell you, the hardest thing was to give myself grace.
Right.
So I am probably my own toughest critic. And I bet you everyone on this panel and in the audience today can attest to the fact that often we are our own worst critics. But I learned through the journey of overcoming all kinds of systemic bias and racism in the family that I was adopted into. And simply because I was adopted, I experienced incredible ostracism, discrimination, a lot of alienation, a lot of overt and very subtle forms of being dismissed, being demeaned, being disregarded. But I will tell you that my family continued to reiterate who I really was, not to listen to the naysayers, not to listen to the people who made fun of me or my family, but to really understand what my purpose on earth was, who I really was, and to continue to invest in that discovery. And then over time, I had to really understand that that meant extending grace, not only to those people that didn't understand who I was, who my family was, what my speech impediment meant. They may not have understood some of the obstacles and the challenges and roadblocks that I had faced and was facing. And so I needed to extend them grace, But most importantly, and perhaps the most difficult challenge I've ever faced, is giving myself grace. And true grace recognizes that the lessons that are often learned through experiencing the result of a failure, a bad decision, a mistake, or even some sort of discrimination means that you have an opportunity to learn from it. Grace does not remove the consequences or attempt to protect you from your bad decisions, or it doesn't even allow you to be insulated from the mean-spirited, limited thinking of other people. But it does allow for the recognition of the mistake and the forgiveness of the failure, which gives you resilience to incorporate that learning into your forward progress. Grace is really embodied. It's an attitude, it's a characteristic, it's a belief. And as such, it really has a contagious effect on other people, including your team, including your company, and most importantly, yourself. And grace absolutely starts with you. It starts by clearly understanding your entire life story, including the consistent themes in your life, and then making the conscious decision to push towards excellence, leaving room for failure. You know your value because when you have grace towards yourself, failure does not define you. In fact, failures are the very building blocks that make you stronger and make you even more valuable. So through grace, you can begin thinking positively of yourself, even though you will inevitably fall short of your own expectations. And we're all human. We're all going to fall and stumble and fail. But when that occurs, you're able to make amends to those you may have hurt, make amends to yourself for failing, and forgive yourself. You can and will do better if you allow yourself to. So for me, my biggest challenge, and still the thing I struggle with today, is giving myself grace, giving myself the ability to push towards success, even knowing I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes. And I have a lot of setbacks that probably kept me from reaching my full potential earlier in life. But I'm okay with that. People have allowed me to learn some of my greatest lessons through failure and have loved me every single step of the way. And so I can pass that forward to others who are struggling with their own sense of missteps, setbacks, or obstacles.
How rich is this, you guys? Remember, Linda describes fail as first attempt in learning. And I loved how you phrased this in one of the interviews I read. Your concept of grace, Linda, is your ability to push towards excellence, leaving room for failure. You know, it's one thing to say, oh, I'm not going to fail, not going to entertain that, not going to invite that in. But you leave room for it. You don't invite it in to take full stage, front stage. You leave the room for it because we're human. And then once you find yourself in something that you perceive as failure, you might check with a couple other people who say, hey, Linda, maybe adjust your thinking because you're doing pretty darn well right there. But get to the bottom of it in a truthful and I think spiritually wholesome way. I'm not talking religion, I'm talking spiritual grounding, being completely rooted in your truth, which I call radical responsibility. So Linda, of course, is a 5-time international best-selling author of several books. I'll name 3 of them: The Great LeadHERship Awakening, Significant Women, Leaders Reveal What Matters Most, and A Woman's Guide to Business Domination. And she, of course, has mentioned her group called LeadHERship Global, community of unstoppable women, enhancing their leadership blueprint and embracing their power to be the best version of themselves. You see, you're not hearing power over, we're going to just turn over patriarchy and have matriarchy. No, you're not hearing that from Linda. While men have compared financial strategies with each other for decades, eons, and for their individual and corporate gain, Linda challenges women to do likewise in finances and in marketing and in every facet of our life. And my experience of her in the short time I've known her and loved her is that she supports women and creative women to move in the direction of their purpose. And it gets right in there and says, hey, you need to know that person, you need to know that person. And it's those trusted relationships that she is completely living within. She is expanding the circle. And basically, I think you want to be in Linda's circle. I am certainly delighted to be there. So with that, I'm going to open this up for Q&A because I think there's probably some people with a lot on their mind to ask this woman for her input and advice. So who has a question for Linda?
All right, we just opened up for question and answer time. So go ahead and let's bring your questions to the table for Linda Fisk at this time. And let me also mention and actually I'm going to ask this question. Tell us about the predictive index diagnostic, Linda, that you have as the gift.
Yeah,
absolutely. So I'm so excited to be able to offer to everyone here a free, very quick 15-minute leadership diagnostic called the Predictive Index. The Predictive Index is very, very quick, simple to take, but you receive a 7-page report about your unique leadership style. What is so impactful about this diagnostic, which is $750 if you were to download it off the internet. And if you were to do a one-on-one read back of your personalized results of this diagnostic, that's $1,500. And we're providing both of those opportunities for free to everyone here. So the diagnostic itself is $750. And if you want to spend an hour with a certified predictive index specialist going through your personalized tailored results just for you, that's $1,500. So we're providing that for free. And what this does is it gives you a really good sense of your unique leadership style, how you deal with decision making, how you deal with communication, how you deal with risk. This is a incredibly actionable set of insights that you now have accessible to you, and it really becomes your superpower because you're able to then orchestrate every single interaction, every single initiative and relationship and every single conversation to orchestrate the very best outcome, because you know who you are as a leader and how to accentuate your strengths, how to manage any kind of caution areas, and how to facilitate the very best outcome in any situation. And that's one of the reasons I love the Predictive Index, is that it is actionable insight. It doesn't tell you, oh, you're an ENTJ, good for you. In fact, it tells you how to leverage your leadership style and your leadership ability across a whole myriad of situations.
You guys, $2,250 value, and she's giving it to us. Like, it doesn't take long. So take advantage, right? Take advantage.
Yeah, it's an amazing opportunity. And you know, the other thing that you mentioned, Debra, that I'll just sort of note a bit in a follow-on comment is that I have found that high-performing executives really do tend to value the perspectives of other leaders, as well as the wisdom that comes through the practical experience that are learned by other leaders in very similar circumstances. So we have a community of leaders like you, Debra, that have created a safe environment where they can share their concerns, where they can be vulnerable and transparent. You know, C-suite executives, which includes business owners, business founders, CEOs, C-suite executives, they often feel that any kind of public show of vulnerability or even uncertainty opens them up to significant risk of losing the confidence or maybe the respect of their board of directors, their employees, their customers. So I would invite all women to really begin thinking about, where is that trusted community of like-minded leaders that they can turn to for unbiased, objective advice and guidance. And if it's not LeadHERship Global, please find that will cheer you on and that will tell you the truth of what they've experienced in their road to success, what the missteps were, what the failures were, where the pitfalls were in their road to success, so that you don't follow the path of, the same pitfalls, the same risks, the same setbacks, but rather you're able to accelerate your success because you're learning through the experiences of other leaders.
Exactly. Yeah, it's an incredible group of women in leadership, and then C-suite executives the people there, huge positions in major, Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies. It's incredible exposure. And Linda has just created leadership and just continues to forge alliances so that when you're in a leadership program, then you get the, access to C-suite. She's amazing.
Yeah. And the one thing that I know about women, and one of the reasons we created LeadHERship Global, is that women often struggle with confidence. Even the most successful, the most award-winning pioneers, trailblazers, innovators, they struggle with confidence. And, we don't enter the world with it. No one has it all the time. And talking about it won't help you gain it. And that, of course, is self-confidence. So we women have particular difficulty sort of developing self-confidence. Compared to men, women don't consider themselves ready for promotions. They predict they're going to do worse on tests. They generally underestimate their considerable abilities. And yet self-confidence is linked to almost every single element involved in a happy and fulfilling life. So we want to create a community where women feel confident, where they feel like they can be vulnerable and transparent and honest. And they are lifted up and they are celebrated and they are given the opportunity to learn from other women who have already been down the path that they're beginning. So that is a way of generating confidence, because confidence gives you the skills and the coping methods to handle setbacks, to handle failures. Yes. Self-confidence doesn't mean you won't sometimes fail, but you'll know how to handle the challenges and not be crippled by them. Even when things don't turn out anywhere close to what you planned, you'll avoid beating yourself up. You'll be able to extend grace to yourself and to others.
And I'll just tag that with a Linda Fisk quote. Confidence is a belief in your ability to succeed, a belief that stimulates action. Action is where it is. Dr. Susan Jeffers talked about how to hold our fear. She's a pain power continuum. And ultimately on the power side, it's action. So we want to take action starting today. Anybody else have a question?
Yes, we've got one question here, and it's Joanne from Women United. She says 101% working with Linda as soon as possible. The question is, what was Linda's biggest business challenge to overcome, please?
Oh, good.
Yeah, I would say that I had a lot of men early in my career that really tried to mold and shape my leadership style to emulate theirs. And they were doing it incredibly generously. They were offering what they believed was incredibly good counsel to be stern, be pragmatic, be decisive. And what I have learned is that women are equally capable leaders, but we do it slightly differently. And so the biggest challenge for me was probably to learn what my own leadership style was and to be authentic and genuine in that leadership style. Because early on, I was emulating the leaders that surrounded me, which tended to all be men. And they would counsel me and coach me and teach and train me to be like they were. Well, what that ended up looking like was me attempting to be like someone else rather than me showing up in an authentic, genuine way as a leader. So over time, I had to shed a lot of the teaching and training and coaching that I had received early in my career and really dive into who I was as a leader and embrace who I was as a leader and who I believe most women are as leaders. They are empathetic. They are humble. They are good listeners. They are good communicators. They tend to trust their team. They tend to be very good at creating boundaries, setting boundaries and adhering to boundaries. And those are different leadership styles and qualities and characteristics than men. So my biggest challenge was to discover who I was as an authentic, genuine leader. And I would say that some of that also comes back to confidence. I think you have to make new things happen in your life. You can't wait for your serendipity to sort of provide you with good fortune. I think if you want to build your confidence, you want to discover who you really are, it's important to keep in mind that it's a process. It can't be built overnight. And you have to do the work to begin believing in yourself, testing yourself, challenging yourself, and setting the stage for you to experience significant wins.
Amazing. It's just, it's inconceivable to me how we can take this all in. I'm going to be listening to the replays myself. So I am just over the moon grateful, Linda, for you and your time and sharing it with us. And for the questions, you can ping Linda later. She responds to emails. I don't know how she does it because she's busier than a one-arm paper hanger, but we are just more than pleased and honored and humbled. I am certainly humbled to have you here with us today as all of the speakers in this Women Bustin' Barriers Summit. And it has been another fantastic time of being awe-inspired and being catapulted into our next step. And it's incumbent upon each of us to determine what that is. And we don't need to know all the ins and outs and answers about it. No, we don't. Let's take that first step. So Linda, with that, I say thank you from the bottom of my heart. We so appreciate you. And until we see you again, Godspeed.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Debra.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. So I'm going to bring this to a wrap, basically, and that is just a reminder that I am going to be increasing the prices to the normal prices, if you will, of the two packages I had outlined earlier. It will go up on the website, and I'll give you a couple days. Maybe someone needs to watch the replay. We'll say till Sunday, this Sunday at midnight. This price will be held for you, $197, to get the recording of this 3-part in-depth series. And it's not, you're not going to get this on Google. You're not going to get this on ChatGPT. This is from my experience, what I think is important. And so it's my way of thinking, that's probably cut to the chase, right? And then the $997 offer will go up to the $1497. And this is an opportunity to get one-on-one with me. And so people say, well, what are you covering there? You know what? It depends on where you are. So I'm meeting you exactly where you are. This is going to supersede any group experience that you could ever have. So you may want to consider either of these that feel appropriate. Ultimately, I want you to take your next step towards your financial freedom. And if you're sick and tired of being sold yet another product, then it's time to imagine that a startup plan, a foundational plan, could be a complete pivotal turning point for you. Now, you know, I came through some barriers myself as a young white 20-year-old girl. You know, I had to carry a towel to wipe the wet behind my ears and my briefcase in the other hand. And I would go into, I wanted to sell investments. They were going to put money into me, sell life insurance. They thought I'd quit. I led the agency the next 2 years once I realized what a magical product it was to preserve families and businesses, right? And I was, you know, top of the sales. I mean, I really excelled because I believed in it. I was often the only woman in a double ballroom at award ceremonies. Yeah, reach down and say, I don't know where it's coming from. God gave me a lot of it. And yet I want to now purvey that kind of courage. And it's not always been courageous, that kind of courage and that kind of getting up when we fall down to you. And if you're one of your tenets of your wealth, because it's physicality, it's emotional, it's spiritual, it's financial. And I'm probably leaving something out. But if the financial part is the weak link for you, or has been the weak link for you, I invite you to come along. Allow me to parse down what I feel from 44 years of experience is going to be your best strategy. And let's partner together to get you over and through that former barrier that has stopped and stumped you, because we have two assets in life, time and health. And I don't want to waste either one of them, nor do I want you to. So if finances is where you want to spend some time to hone your skills and to get strategies and to create intentional wealth, it's not going to happen in a dream. And you got to get finances right more than once in a row. Tap me. I'll be eager to partner with you and accelerate your pace to your financial freedom. So until next time, God bless, Godspeed, and create your intentional wealth to fulfill your mission. It's different from anyone else's. Thank you so much.